Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining on for our rest day recap. We are almost there. We're a day out from the semi-finals. It doesn't feel like we've been going for almost 5 weeks at the moment. So Omar and Todd, thanks very much for jumping on. I want to get straight into basically what we've seen and what we've liked. Patch, you're kind of out of this bubble, so you've been seeing it more from afar than we have. Like the last 4 weeks, what have you seen? And as I said, what have you liked?
Well, I like there's a lot of goals, that's for sure. It seems like I think the four teams are based a lot on offense, so that's nice to watch. I think you saw every game pretty close to the end, so it makes it entertaining. A few standouts from all the teams, I would say, and I was kind of surprised in some ways. Manchester and Sheffield are playing now in the semifinal. I thought maybe Manchester would have creeped up second or third, but interesting matchup from the start, and then you have Coventry and Nottingham. So overall, I think the play as well has got better progressively through this tournament. I think the first 2 weeks was, I wouldn't say sloppy, but I think guys were getting back into the groove of things, and now you see the quality of play definitely in the last week at least upgraded.
Todd, you have a different kind of angle because you can see it in the arena. You can see more than just what the camera shows. How have you seen it evolve then in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think the coaching has gotten. I don't know if it's the coaching or the systems they put in place. The players are kind of getting it now. I mean, Pash as a coach, you bring a team in and you get 4 or 5 days of practice, and then you got to think of, do you
Mhm.
simplify a system or do you play your normal system? And I think the coaches have had to adapt. I've noticed. I actually think the coaching has changed slightly. I think a lot of the teams, I think all the teams have adapted sort of from where they started to the system they ended up playing. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, people keep asking me, like, are you sick of hockey? Like, the players keep saying, because the players not playing will come up and sit in the stands where I usually am, and they'll say, are you sick of watching these games? I'm like, no, I'm actually really enjoying it. It's been good. It's been entertaining. Even the games that I thought maybe weren't going to matter, they end up, like Pash said. I don't know, I like to say in a positive way, there's so much offense, it's exciting, and sometimes it's maybe it's the lack of defense as much as the so much offense. But yeah, it's been fun, and uh, some excellent standout players. I think some players that maybe, for some of the young guys that came across as imports, they've played themselves into potential options with teams, or maybe showcase themselves to our league or other leagues. And for some guys, like some of the young guys that either play in the elite league or play in the league below, they've been able to showcase themselves with more ice time. So it's been really good. It's been really good.
Mhm.
Let's talk about one of them, Tristan Keck. I mean, anyone that scores 15 goals, it's 15 in 12, but realistically, it was 15 in 10 because he was on that streak. I mean, that's just incredible to come in and do, no?
Yeah, I thought he skates really well. All those guys from NCA are usually pretty good off the bat, and no, he's been definitely I would say Coventry's top or one of their top players from the start. He has a good chemistry, I think, with Hammond on his line. So no, they've been playing good on the power play as well, and he's definitely been one of the standouts for this tournament. I really like the way he skates, he competes, and the last, like you said, the last 10 games, you can notice him pretty much every game. So, no, he's definitely one up there.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's a perfect example of a guy. I think it was at Nebraska Omaha University. I think that's where he was,
Mhm.
and had okay numbers. Like, not didn't have great numbers, didn't have poor numbers, but like a good player in university. Um, and that's always hard coming out of university to showcase yourself. And now he's a guy that scored 15 goals in 12 games. And good for him. Like, I'm really happy for him. He seems like a great person, and I think whether he's in this league or he's using this and propelling to another league, who knows? But it's a perfect example of a guy using this to showcase his talents and done a great job. And I mean, he's benefited from playing with Hammond for sure. Like, Hammond's a great passer and has set up a lot of those goals. But I mean, still, some of those goals, the breakaway speed this guy has,
Mhm.
and the
Shorties, a few shorties, eh?
yeah, and the
Yeah.
finish has been fantastic. But yeah, there's players on every team that have really impressed me, and not just forwards. There's been some defensemen that I really like as well. But like Nottingham has a couple guys that are right out of university as well, and they're using this time to showcase their talents too. So it'll be interesting too, because also, there's I mentioned it before when I got interviewed for one of the games by Seth, when it was a Manchester game. I talked about like a guy like Forbes in Coventry playing defense, started the tournament on forward. Now he's playing defense. He's played really well. And on the other hand, Cole Shudra's played started on defense. Now he's playing forward. I actually like him better as a forward, but maybe my opinion. What do I know? But yeah, it's interesting. And then to see a guy like a great story like Kieran Long scoring so many goals and getting picked up by the GB team. I think this tournament had a lot to do with that. So good for him too.
Yeah, I think Kieran definitely the scoring touch with Manchester coming into that series against Sheffield is going to be important, but he's definitely been a standout. And you're right, the two guys in Nottingham, Boivin and Domingue, I think they're really standing out for them. And Sheffield, you have, their top two lines are definitely up there with anybody in this tournament. Aldrin,
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely probably the MVP of the whole thing. And no, you're right, Todd. There's certainly guys that really stood out for me. It's more forwards, but there is a few defensemen on all teams that I think have done well. Just one guy I coached in the past, Dallas Earhart, is eating a lot of minutes for Manchester, and I think he's going to be a really important player for their push now in the next round. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a former defenseman, so I kind of watch the defense a lot more. And Sheffield have a couple guys I really like that are playing great. I think Schultz is a guy that's
Yeah.
a very good player, really good player in this tournament. Um, One of the guys, the young guys that impressed me is Josh Tetlow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope it's Josh. Luke, you're
It is
looking at me
Josh.
like
It is Josh. The
figured
one
the
that
other
looks
way.
like Zdeno Chara. It's Josh Tetler.
Yeah, yeah. No, Tetlow is and he's a really nice person. He's a good kid. But like he's come along leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, and he's another. He's been selected to Team GB, but he's playing really well. He's playing on a pairing with Matheson, which is always a great player to play with. And you can see even throughout this tournament, he's been benefiting from more and more ice time. And I mean, Tetlow might be in this league for 20 years, honestly. Like he's just going to get better. Like he's a guy that big. And I think when he started, his big thing was like he had to just improve his skating, and I think he really has improved his skating and his foot speed, and he moves really well now. He's big and strong, and yeah, I mean it's hard to get around him. He's a good player. Matheson, like I love watching Matheson play. Like when a player like that, he's on another team, you don't always watch him. Like when I see a guy in my rink maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and maybe on a webcast here or there, but it's been a new appreciation for Matheson watching him play for the Panthers. Like he eats a lot of minutes, like you said with Earhart in Manchester. Matheson for the Panthers eats a lot of minutes, and watch him on a shift. If fans are watching the next Panthers game, watch Matheson on shift. He'll start with the puck behind his net. He'll go end to end. He'll set up at the blue line. Then somehow he's behind the other goal, setting up, making a pass. Then he's the first guy back. I clocked a shift of his a few games ago. He was on for 2.5 minutes, and I mean this is an older guy in the league, and he's just so smooth. He reminds me of a player I had, Andrew Hotham. Just seems like the puck just is on a string on his stick. So he's been good to watch, and he scored the nice OT winner yesterday for the Storm, or for the Panthers. So yeah, I mean, so many fun stories, and goaltending. I think Shane Owen's been a standout in this. He's been phenomenal. Really kept the Blaze in a lot of games. I mean, the first 3 or 4 games, he was averaging like 45, 50 shots a night. I don't know if that was generous stats giving or if that was actually legit, but it's. I mean, it seemed like 45, 50 shots. So yeah, it's been fun.
I like speaking of players maybe standing out, I like Hazeldine. I think he's been a really good asset for Manchester. Stood out, but like you said, Todd, some of these guys are really taking the opportunity to kind of put themselves in the, I guess, in the shopping window for next year, and not necessarily him, but other players as well. And goaltending, you mentioned Shane Owen. That's going to be, I think the next round will definitely come down to goaltending, because it's been somewhat of a high scoring series, and now it's basically who's going to shut the door in front of anybody. And I think Coventry with Owen probably has slightly an edge as of now. But look at Bouncy, you've had him for so many years. He can obviously turn a game upside down when he can, and And then you look at Sheffield, they don't. Who knows who's going to be the starter because he's got I guess, a good problem in his hand with potentially three goalies to choose from. And then Manch with Boner, I think he can have a great series. So yeah, I guess the most exciting part as an outsider now is looking into the playoffs and seeing these semifinals.
Well, the playoffs will be good, and it's yeah. I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of Bounzy's, and he's I always say Bouncy plays his best in the big games. So I know he had a tough night against Sheffield the one night, and you got hit in the head with a puck in warm up, and then he played and probably shouldn't have, and had it kind of that skewed his numbers, I guess. But I never really count out Bouncy. So I think Tim's got a tough decision, but a great decision because I think Whistle's played really well as well. I think they both have played really well. So they're in good shape. And Sheffield, the two young guys that both, I mean, they held them together. Like, I mean, that's tough enough coming in for either one of those guys. Maybe they thought they'd play one or two games, but to split all the games, and they both done well. But I think if Muse is back, I think Foxy will go with him. It would make sense. That's your number one, and he's been kind of waiting on him to see when he would be back. I think that's why he took the semifinal times that he did, because hoping that maybe Muse is back for Thursday for the second leg of that. So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, Owen's been the standout in net for sure.
Pat,
I don't think any game will be done after the first one. Put it that way. I think after the first game, there's still going to be hope because we've seen a lot of scoring throughout the whole series.
Yeah, yeah.
Patch, as a coach, if you had a goalie that had been out for, what is it now, 4 weeks that Muse has been out, and you're going into a first leg where it's aggregate scoring, so goals against can really hurt you, would you throw the goalie in like that, even though he is your number one, but he's been injured?
Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously I'm not as close as you guys, so I wouldn't know how close he is from playing. It would probably depend on the practicing he's had, and if he's been practicing a week or 2 weeks intensely, and they just want to keep him for that playoff series, I would put him in. But if he's showing any signs of of still injuries or not being ready, I would probably roll with one of the two. But he's a quality goalie. You can just see on his resume. I mean, he only played 25 minutes that game. He didn't let a goal, so it's a bit unfair to bring him all the way and not actually give him a chance, I guess. But yeah, Foxy's gonna have a tough decision. If it was me, depending on how his rehab, but I would also be confident with the two other goalies, especially how they've been handling themselves. I mean, I have to say they've been, really good, both of them, and not let in the softies that maybe in the past backup goalies would put in and let in, and they've done. I think the young kid Waterberg, and he's been really impressive, and he surprised me. And Churchville, I think the last two games been good too. So again, Sheffield is going to have a big decision. The good thing about them is, they have a lot of scoring too. So even if they get down a few, I wouldn't be too worried with the offense they have.
Well, we'll come a little bit more about the semis and the final in a bit. I want to just do two bits of kind of product placement, you could call it, because we've had two really good sponsors and both of you are connected to them. So we'll start with you, Patch. Dew have given us all of the hygiene equipment and products that we've been using during this. They're a Scottish company. They're based in Dundee. How did you guys kind of come to work with them, and how's your relationship been with them?
Well, the relationship is good. It actually started with they came in last year. Gary's is a big fan of the Stars, and Michael brought him to the room. He's our commercial guy, and I had a chance to I met him before, but to sit down with him, and he kind of explained the product. So they've been really kind, and this was prior to COVID, right? So this was the start of, I guess, 2 seasons ago right now. And he was explaining us the product. And at the time I was like, maybe not as passionate about hand gel or products like that at that point in time. But he was really passionate about the product. It's really grown. We were fortunate enough when the players came, we gave them all one bag of Dew products, and they've been a great sponsor. They worked with us with our shirt off the back throughout this pandemic. They were there to support us. They provided a lot of the products for our team, even during the pandemic. And obviously we have other businesses within our team or sponsors that have used them as well. And it's a good story to see a company like that in Dundee kind of boom, and you, I guess, use this time to, you know, sell the products everywhere in the UK, because it's not only Dundee based. There, I guess the products are used everywhere, even in Cardiff with Hixie. So
Yeah, no, it's good. That fogger thing is fantastic. Like this.
absolutely, it's every weekend we used to do that. I was walking the room and Michael, I would see Michael do that, and I was like, all right, good, clean everything. So the guys were all clean before the week, and now you kind of realize how vital that will be when the restart goes.
And Todd, apart from stick something up your nose, what's the first thing you do before you come to the rink?
I log into my app, my Vindico app.
Ah,
Yeah,
there it is.
yeah, and it's yeah. So that's Vindico is one of our sponsors in Cardiff, and they're too clever for me to really know all the things they do, but I know that they developed this app for us, but they also did it for the Welsh Rugby Union, it's going well. They've got some crazy exciting projects, including a huge campaign called Think Air, which is all about clean air, and a clean air initiative, which will probably be, I call it their $1 billion or their £1 billion idea. But yeah, Joe Polson, who's the CEO of Vindico, has some exciting stuff on I guess on tap, and this app is just probably a nice little side project that they helped us with, and we really appreciate it. So yeah, very clever people and very good to work with. And they actually have an office based in our arena now. So yeah, so yeah, that's so they can monitor the Wi-Fi when on game night when we get back to games. Um, yeah, happy to have them on board. Happy to have you on board. It's been helpful. The fogger thing, Hixie was doing my office yesterday, so I saw it in action.
No, but it's good for Dew. They're big, especially Gary's a big Stars fan and a hockey fan. So it's great to see these guys kind of join in and at the elite level for the tournament. So we were really happy to pass along the contact details, and from what I'm hearing, they're really satisfied with everything going on down south. So hopefully something that we all will need in the future, and I'm sure they will be there to help us.
Excellent. Yeah, we're very, very grateful to both of them for their support. Let's come back to the games. Just before we look at the semis, your own kids, I want to talk about quickly. Patch, you've got Craig Garrigan down here. Have you spoken to him much in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, I've been texting him maybe more so at the start of the tournament. Listen, I think he played well. A few times I saw him in and out the lineup because there's a lot of, I guess, depth at that position. We're under bottom nine. Yeah, I guess the bottom six, right? So there's a lot of competition there. But I think he put himself in a good position, hopefully, to be in the lineup in the playoffs. I'm really happy with him. For a guy that hasn't played all year basically, and to come down south and to have the effect that he had the first few games, I was really happy. I think he skates really well. I'm sure everybody's noticed that. He works hard. He'll play any system you ask him to, and I think he's got a lot of potential, and he's a guy that we're excited to have back for next year. But you know what, he's been good. It's just at that position I can tell there's a lot of young Nottingham kids too that Wallace wants to probably see, and so it's up to them what they want to use him. But I can tell you one thing: if he's in, he'll be ready, and I'm sure he'll be a great asset for a playoff run. So I guess that's my sales pitch for Tim. Hopefully he's listening.
We'll make sure he knows.
Put
Todd,
him in. Put him in, Tim. Or Deuce. I'll call Deuce. Tim, if you don't put him in, I'm calling Deuce.
okay, I'll clip that bit and put that out separately. Todd, you said in a different interview you feel like a lot of the guys' dad, sort of sitting up in the stands watching them. How's that been watching them play for other teams?
It's been strange, yeah, but it's yeah, like I've got well on the Blaze I've got Rutkus and Dougie, Sam Duggan, and then the Storm I have Batchy, and then the Panthers I have Bouncy, and then Myers on the Steelers. So I've got skin in the game in every single game. So it's interesting, and yeah, it's strange watching. It is weird watching players on different teams. Seeing Matthew Myers in an orange jersey is very strange to me. Probably the strangest of them all, but yeah, no, it's good, and I've talked to all of them, and they're all having a good time, and they're enjoying this, and yeah, Duggan's having probably the most fun. He's just, I thought the hotel would get old. Like I thought, oh God, you're staying in a hotel the whole time, eating with the, the same place and having the same things, and he's just loving it. He's just, all my food's paid for. I'm having the time of my life. So he doesn't care, and I'm happy for Dougie getting called up to Team GB. I think he really deserves it. He's had a good series so far. Scored some good goals, and he's blocked a few shots with his elbow, hip, head, everything. So he's done a really good job for them. So yeah, so it's interesting to see. It's interesting to think where it's going to be in the semifinals. Two good series, and I am generally looking forward to it. So
How much has your new coach, Jared, been watching the games, especially with the players that you have, but he's obviously not really seen before?
yeah, no, he's watching. He's watching most games, um, and yeah, I mean, it's good because he can get a feel for it, right? But he's also, I'm also saying, like, watch this guy, take an eye on this guy, and he's yeah, I mean, he's watching as much as he can. So is Neil Francis. He's watching most of the games as well. So I've got more than my set of eyes just watching as well. So
Excellent. Right. I know you're both dying to talk about semis in the final. So let's go there. We're going to put you on the spot. Whoever wants to go first. Coventry versus Nottingham.
Todd.
you want me? I can't. I
You're
know.
Todd, you're there involved. You're always there. You see the guys practicing. I think you got a better insight than I would. I'm just
Maybe I'll
I
help
have
you
my
out.
predictions. I'm not even going to say my predictions. You want to know why? Pasha, you don't have to make your prediction and walk down the hall and run into these guys and have them all pissed off that you said, oh, you're going to lose, or you're going to lose. So I am keeping my predictions to myself, and I think Pasha, as a neutral off-site, should be the one that makes the predictions.
Todd. You're supposed to social distance from them anyways under the rules, so you're not going to see them. Just put a mask on. They won't recognize you.
Oh,
For me, I think you look at the first series. Which one? No, Nottingham, Coventry.
yeah.
I can help you out. Maybe what's the key to that series? So is the series from Coventry's perspective, for example, Shane Owen and Tristan Keck, or do you think there's more to it?
No, I think there's more to it because you got Swindlehurst that I think might be in the lineup too. They'll add a bit of depth to their D squad. I think you guys got like guys like Hammond, Lakinen, Jermaine. You got some offense there, Ferreira. So there's a lot of offense on Cov. You mentioned Shane Owen, but I have to say, Nottingham, there's an aspect of me that I'm kind of waiting for them to explode in some ways, and I think it's now or never for them. Like guys like I think Boivin Domingue have been having great tournaments. I think guys like experience like Deneen and Kanglowski, if I said that right, can add something really different to this series. It's an aggregate one, so like Todd said earlier, what do? Do you put Boundsy or Whistle? He's got two good options. So if I had to pick today, I don't know. That's a tough one. But I'll go. I'll. But one of my good friends is Guillaume Doucette, so I'll probably say Nottingham. But I wouldn't be surprised if this series goes like an overtime second game, and it's like well, how does it work overtime, by the way? Is it 3-on-3 or
3-on-3 for 10. So first leg obviously doesn't matter.
yeah.
Second leg, 3-on-3 for 10 minutes and then a shootout because we don't have time to go 20 minutes because we got a game. The guys have so much hockey in them right now. It's ridiculous. So I'm not going to predict. I'm going to go with semifinals. I'm going to talk about the Nottingham one just like Pash did, right? So Pash is he's obviously teetered and gone with his friend Doucette because I knew he would. I could have told you exactly Pash was going to say that from the very start. I'm not going to give you my opinion on who will win, but I'll tell you the keys to victory, like you suggested, Luke. So I think the keys to victory for Coventry to win, obviously the Hammond line, Hammond, Keck, and Germain. I think they're leading the charge. They're the key to the offense. Their power play with Ferrara on there is I mean, it's the best power play in this tournament right now. So yeah, I'd say that line is key. But Nottingham know this, right? So Nottingham are going to try to be shutting down that line, but it's no one's been able to really do it so far. But I think that's probably what Nottingham will be focusing on. And then Owen has to play great, has to continue to play great. So the Coventry D as a whole, like a collectively team defense, have to tighten up a bit, because Nottingham, you could see like they've actually gotten better. Their forwards have gotten better as the tournament progressed. I think they've kind of found their feet, and they're playing better together. And the guys that you were kind of waiting to perform are really coming out and performing now.
Yeah.
Oven is a great talent. I'd be shocked if he's not with the signed by Nottingham for next season. So I think Nottingham will. I think it's going to come down to that. It's going to come down to goaltending for both teams, because Owen at one end, and whether it's Wiss or Bouncy at the other end, they have to have their best game of the tournament, the best 2 games of the tournament. It's now or never kind of thing. You know, I wouldn't say either one has played to the capability that I know they can play together, but you could flip a coin and pick either one, and they're probably, you know, like they're both playing great. I would go with Bouncy because I know Bouncy. Well, I know Wiss, but I know Bouncy a lot better, and I know the history I've had with him. So I would pick Bouncy, but I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. In the other series, you know, it's hard. It's going to be hard for anyone to beat Sheffield. It really is. They've proven they're the best team, but the one team that's beat them twice is Manchester. So Manchester's found a way to beat them twice. They need a big goalie from Bonner. He needs to have the best game of his tournament, the best 2 games. He just has to. He can't, you know, like he's made some amazing saves, and he's going to have you know, a 40 save night and play great. And again, the defense for Manchester are going to have to tighten up, and because the Steelers' offense is the most potent, they're scoring 5 goals a game. So you know, stop that. And I mean, even you can take away the top line for Sheffield, and the second line is probably a top line on any of the other teams right now. You know, so you say, like you said, how do you say his name? The big guy, Oland. Olden. You said Olden is the MVP, and he's third on his team in scoring. So
Yeah.
Eberle and Kirk.
Oh, no, Eberle actually is no. Eberle.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is,
he does not score a hat trick every game. I feel like every time I'm watching them, he's got 2 goals, and 5 minutes later, hat trick.
Yeah, exactly. And like, look at Sheffield. Sheffield have scored, I bet 4 times they've scored in the first minute, maybe 5 times they've scored in the first minute. They just come out flying, and you got to weather that storm, and you got to tighten up for, like, the team. Storm should just not even try to have any offense for at least the first 2 minutes. Just weather the storm a bit, and try to maintain that. But Finner's teams have played really well against them. They really have. So yeah, there's my keys to victory if the coaches are watching.
So what are you predicting?
I'm not predicting anything.
Come on, Todd. One time.
Oh, because Pash, I'm the neutral. For once in my life, I get to be the nice guy that's neutral, and I don't have coaches screaming at me. So I'm the neutral. I have got a cold beer for the winning coach after each game. You can come in my office and socially distance and chat about the game, and I'm happy with that right now, Pash. I don't want to ruin that.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that then, eh?
Well, then, Pash, you're very keen to get everyone else's opinions. Let's go with yours.
Well, first of all, Finner has to get 6 defensemen. I think he probably knows that. I mean, that I don't really know his name, but that Norwegian defenseman, he's been out for a bit. I think he needs 6 defensemen. I think a lot of his D-men are logging a lot of minutes. The one thing I will say, I think this was the matchup that I think Sheffield, you know, probably I don't want to say wanted to avoid, but it's probably the one that I think will cause them a little bit of problems. I think Finner is going to get them really fired up for this game. The one thing that's my earlier prediction with Coventry, I like young guys that are hungry, and I feel like Coventry have some guys, and obviously Nottingham too. But you look at Manchester's roster, you got a lot of young guys. You got a good core of Brits as well there that have been in the league and kind of know the aggregate system as well. So I don't know that I have to say probably Sheffield, but saying that, I do think Manchester, I wouldn't be surprised. And actually, you know what? Wait, let me.
Quit sitting on the fence,
It's not fair to go and put predictions when you guys are just on the sidelines and just, hey, Parsh said that this.
Gosh, we're the administrative team working on this event. The administrators can't make selections. We're the neutral parties. We've come to you with an expert opinion, and we need that expert opinion.
I do think though Sheffield have a lot of scoring. So what I will say is my prediction is Sheffield if Manchester don't have that defenseman, because I do think they're logging a lot of minutes. And if he's back, it'll be a lot tighter than what I'm suspect. But it's really gonna be I don't think watching from afar, I don't think there's one, and everybody will talk about Sheffield, how they have offense, but I do think that Sheffield playing Manchester, it's going to be a lot tighter than what people would assume, even if it's 1 against 4, if that makes sense, right? So I do think there's going to be two really, really tight games there. So if I had to be on the limb right now, I would say probably Sheffield, but I actually probably think that Manchester, I would love to see Manchester in the final. And I would either or Coventry or even Nottingham, even though I like Deuce, I don't know, man. This is awkward now.
I'm really confused about what you've just been saying for the last few minutes.
Cut that part out now because it's all confused. You're confusing me. Go off the record, I'll tell you.
Imagine the poor fans who logged in to hear Omar Pacha's expert opinion and they got that waffle.
Yeah, but I was a part of. I worked at Manchester for 2 years.
You don't work there now.
Okay, that's a fair point. Deuce is one of my good buddies.
He's not playing.
Okay, that's another good point. Garrigan plays for Nottingham, so I'm rooting for Garrigan. There you go. So Nottingham, I'm rooting for Craig Garrigan. So Nottingham won series because I'm rooting for Craig Garrigan. I coached Dallas Earhart, but I also played and coached with Davy Phillips. Finner, I want Finner to win because I think he'll make the final exciting too, but I would have to say Sheffield. But I think Manchester is going to give them a really good series. I really think that.
Right. So of the 4 teams in the semi-finals, you think all 4 of them have got a fantastic shot of being in it. Thank you, Omar, for that insight. That was excellent.
No, I think that the 4 teams have a legit shot. If it would structure another way, if somebody else would be playing somebody else, I think it would be opposite. I do think Sheffield would have beat Coventry, and I do think Sheffield would have beat Nottingham in the semifinals. I do think they'll struggle against Manchester. That's my opinion.
Right, good.
Nottingham and Sheffield, I think it's at Nottingham and Coventry, it's a toss-up. But because Garrigan plays for Nottingham, I'm saying Nottingham. And I do think they have like Boivin and Domingue. I think they'll have a good series. But then you have Shane Owen. So I'm confusing myself right now.
So basically what you're saying is they're both going to be amazing series and people should tune in.
I think they're good. I actually think this is the perfect matchup for semi.
You know what I can predict right now? I can see in the future the video editing that Luke is going to do and make this into this is going to be an Omar Pacha waffling highlight film.
No, I don't like that. This is so awkward now.
It's gonna be you. I can't wait.
Nottingham Sheffield final. Go. That's it. That's me done. I think Manchester will make it though. So I don't know.
Nottingham Sheffield final, but I think Coventry and Manchester could make it as well. Brilliant. Right. Before we finish,
I think Sheffield are not. I wouldn't be surprised if Sheffield will struggle against Manchester.
Your reply to this answer has been so long. Your hair's actually grown during this video.
Oh, I know.
Right.
I speak to Deuce and Finner probably the most out of the 4 teams, but yeah, I'm rooting for Fox too because there's a good story there on the side. So you got a lot of good people in all 4 teams. So what I like here, this is the last thing I'll say. I like that I'm having a tough time predicting. That's what I'm saying. Like I think we can all agree that it's not as black and white as everybody would think. So
good. Streaming packages on sale for all the playoff games at eliteleague.tv. Before we finish, because our time is almost up, I just want to ask you quickly about the final, because it's played in a slightly different format. It's best of 3. We've never done that in the Elite League, having a best of series. Patch, as a coach, how kind of jealous are you that this is now happening and you're not in it?
Yeah, really jealous. I think that's probably something that the league has to look for in the future, but we'll see how it goes in the 2 out of 3 because it would be really exciting to like have third game in overtime or something like that. I just wish all overtime now. Every game overtime.
First legs, overtime.
First legs, no, but like the second game, overtime, overtime. You just want that emotion, you know?
Todd, you said that you were jealous watching the draft and not being involved. Are you equally as jealous not being involved in a best of three?
Yeah, I would like all playoff quarter like I do like the playoff finals weekend. I think it's a great event. I think it's something unique to our league. But I love the best of three. I think the quarterfinals we should look at doing a best of three. I think we can figure it out. Like there's always a reason why we can't do it. Oh, we can't. You know, we couldn't get iced for the third game. We can figure it out. We can play on a Monday. If the teams are tied on a Saturday, Sunday, and then we have to play on the Monday at the home team that just played on the Sunday, if they have to get iced the next day, there's only 2 or 3 rinks that would have trouble with that, right? The big rinks. But if they know a year in advance, or a couple months in advance, why can't they just book it out? You know, I think it'd be so fun. I think everyone that would go to the game on the Sunday, if it's then tied, they'd be back there for the Monday. And I mean, people always want playoff series, and this is my take on that. You want playoff series as a player. You want playoff series when you're a big fan of the NHL, but the one thing that our league has that's unique is, you know, when the league is the big one, our playoff series happen all year. Every Sunday, when it's a big game, every time the Cardiff Devils play the Nottingham Panthers or play anyone on a Saturday in October, it's as big as a Saturday in March, right? And that's reflected in crowds and passion and all the stuff we have. Whereas like a lot of leagues, you know, their crowds don't reflect success until the playoffs, right? So it's great. You think like, wow, if we have a long playoff run, it was exciting. We sold out those last few weeks. But I watch a lot of European hockey, and you talk to other teams, and the crowds aren't really there. Or they're not really engaged for the first 7 months, and then when the playoffs roll around, they're pumped, right? That's a lot how the NHL is, and so I like our setup. I like the fact that the league's the big one, but the only thing I would change is I would change the quarterfinals to 3 games. We can figure that out. We'll figure it out. We'll work on that. Hey, Pash?
Yeah, absolutely, Todd. I agree. And to go back to that, I mean, the two-legged thing is probably what you're going to see here is if, I don't know, one team has a really, really bad night, that can be game over for them. And I don't think any of the four teams right now deserve one bad night and to be their, I guess, their series over. You know what I mean? So that's why I would have liked to see, even in this series, maybe a 2 out of 3. But something in the future I would love to see as well, because Todd's right. I mean, if you go in the second game, you know, you got to worry about winning the game. And then obviously the third game, you'll come down to, you know, obviously the final. And but hey, we'll work on that, Todd. Right?
There you go.
Good project for you for the next league meetings. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Our time is up. We could go on for a lot longer, but this has been fantastic. I think from Omar's insight, I'm still a little bit unsure of what he has actually predicted, but we'll find it. We'll find out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday playoff games. Thank you guys very much for coming on, and let's look forward to some good games this week.